Well, it's fair to say that week 1 of the Overwatch League Playoffs has certainly been a very interesting and entertaining affair, even if it has battered me on a personal prediction level. Today though, I want to briefly go over all the matches that were played, highlighting the points that stood out to me, as well as assessing where the playoffs now stand before next week's action, which I'll be looking to preview in a bit more detail in a couple of days' time. Thursday kicked us off with a very hyped up affair between our number 1 seed Vancouver Titans and the number 8 seed that had progressed through the play-in tournament, the Seoul Dynasty. Heading into this matchup, people were expecting a close affair, given how strong Seoul had looked in their win over the Charge, with Marvel in particular showcasing perhaps the best play on the new hero Sigma so far. That said, the majority opinion was that Vancouver would still come out on top, even with Tizzy coming out for his debut as Bumper was demoted to the bench. The teams came out onto the first match Lijiang Tower, and we immediately saw two slightly different approaches. The Dynasty ran Fletter on Mei to pair with Fitz's Doomfist, whereas Haxel's Doom was accompanied by Xiaomin Su on Reaper. Initially though, it was the Titans who took the initiative, with Haxel especially driving aside to a convincing first round. Round 2 however saw a flip of the script, as once again Fletter got the better of the McCree vs Faragel that had been so effective against Guangzhou to level the rounds. This third and final round finally saw the two teams mirror compositions, and it was Vancouver who again took the upper hand, with their main man Haxel once more getting the all-important first picks to initiate their offense. Seoul became a little desperate, and in their final push they were caught up with Xiaomin Su's Death Blossom as he hit around the corner, confirming the map and an early 1-0 lead in the series to the Titans. Numbani was selected as the second map, and for quite some time this appeared to have been a miscalculation for the Dynasty, as their attack of Point A continually stalled in the face of a very well executed Bastion Symmetricom being run by Vancouver. This burnt a lot of time off the clock, but in the end though, they just managed to brute force their way through, and after getting to the payload phase, Seoul started to pick up a lot of momentum, with Fitz and Marvel starting to dominate in the Doom Sigma head to head, with the Dynasty eventually finishing the map with a few seconds left on the clock. The Titans' own first attack ended up being just as messy, as they at first tried to make a Bastion strat work, but this eventually was held after an amazing back and forth, which ended up with a Mercy vs Lucio fight on the point. They did cap however, but again in the neutral mirror head to heads, it was Seoul who was getting the majority of the opening picks, with Fitz in particular very good at getting to Vancouver's backline, whilst Marvel continued to dominate Janu on the Sigma. It all got very messy in the end, and the Dynasty found a lot more value after their ultimates to assist them in holding the Titans to just before the second checkpoint, thereby winning them the map and levelling the series at 1-1, which took us to Horizon Lunar Colony for Assault. This map emphasised the control and upper hand Seoul held in the mirror matchups, with a fantastic display from the whole squad on their defense, while Vancouver to only 81% at the first point, as Jaehong found more value out of his coalescence, Marvel picked up kills with his rock accretion, and Fitz smashed his way to the opposition backline, all while Fletter was applying pressure himself on the front line. A Bastion defense tried its best, but only took 2 minutes for the Dynasty to find the teamfight win they needed to take control of this series with a lead of 2-1. It was after this map though that the series suddenly changed on its head, and this was due to one single tactical change, either raised by the coaching staff of Vancouver or their players themselves, which changed the complexion of this match entirely. Now what had been happening previously was that even with Haxel finding some initial picks on his Doomfist, the Titans were getting picked apart by Fitz diving in and beating up the support line, all the while being assisted by Marvel, who was visibly and statistically getting the better of Janu in the Sigma 1v1, especially with the stun from his accretion. So what Vancouver decided to do over the next 3 maps was adjust their style entirely. They would allow Fitz to engage their backline, but this would be bait for Haxel to then catch Fitz off guard and pick up an early kill, with the added support of Janu, who had his accretion ready as well. This strategy and plan couldn't have gone much better, with Vancouver for the first time in this series really dominating as he sped through Gibraltar and then held Seoul to the second section, levelling the series at 2-2. This domination then continued into Busan and Eichenwald. For the Dynasty, it wasn't as if they didn't find the occasional success when this plan failed, with Fitz continuing to fall for this trap. Seoul's control of this series slipped further and further away from them, resulting in them losing back-to-back maps. And by the time they reached Eichenwald, they just looked mentally boomed, as they were full held, and Vancouver went on to win the map with ease, confirming the series victory 4-2, with Haxel clearly picking up the player of the match award for a brilliant display on Doomfist, which meant everything for the Titans, especially in allowing Xiaomin Su to have a major impact on the Reaper as well, all the Dynasty's eyes drawn onto the Doomfist. For Seoul, this failure to adapt had cost them dearly, and a sentiment of a loser's bracket. They still had positive things to take away from their performance. Whilst Vancouver, the win looked very impressive, but showed that they certainly weren't unbeatable, with work still needed on their team play as a whole to take some of the workload off Haxel's shoulders. After this amazing series, we were treated to another one that followed immediately afterwards, with arguably the two most evenly matched sides in the 4-seed Hangzhou Spark and the 5-seed LA Gladiators taking to the stage, in a set that most people thought would be very close. Busan would be map 1, and the first round saw the Spark catch their opponents off guard, with a Bastion Symmetra setup that completely bamboozled the Gladiators, and were like a treat given them a convincing opening round. The next round however returned to more normalcy, with the Doom Reaper mirror, which LA looked a lot more comfortable on as they won this second round. The third and final round, however, was the closest and would come down to one final teamfight, but a huge moment. Bazzi on Doomfist killed Big Goose just before he could pop his sound barrier, as Rhea uses Graphitic Flux, which saw the Spark just come out ahead and take map 1. The Gladiators didn't rest on their laurels, however, and immediately responded with a convincing victory on King's Row, as they pushed the payload to just before the finish, before full holding Hangzhou at the first point, thanks to excellent displays from Shawfall on Reaper, as well as Hydration on Doomfist, which was getting a lot more involved compared to the map prior. This continued on to Anubis, where even with Bazzi picking up kills on Doomfist, as well as the Spark finishing the map first time round, they simply couldn't keep up with the pace of the Gladiators' offense. It was now rolling, with Hydration having a major impact on his own Doomfist. It was not only gaining picks, but also creating space for Shawfall to deal a lot of damage as well on the Reaper, resulting in a very fast finish, where it would see them easily cap the 1.5 points they needed on their second attack to win the map and go 2-1 up in the series. Map 4 in Rialto told a very similar story, with the key difference this time being that Decay was subbed in to play the Doomfist, with Void being relegated to the bench, as for the first time we saw the long-rumoured Hydration Sigma. This didn't stifle any of the team's momentum, as they impressively halted Hangzhou's push to the end of the second section, despite some creative flanks from Bazzi, before rolling on through on their own attack with Decay picking up some nice highlight kills and meteor strikes on the Doomfist, as they reached a target with over 2 minutes remaining to go up 3-1 in the series. Round 1 on Lijiang Tower went 100-0 for the Gladiators, as they looked to convincingly wrap up the series, but their play started to get quite sloppy, and to their credit, the Spark punished them effectively for this, impressively and dominatingly winning the following 2 rounds to take one map back in the series, which now stood at 3-2, despite looking locked for LA. Iconwall now ebbed back and forth in a closely fought map, where both teams wrestled for control through their Doomfists, Reapers, and Sigmas, with Shawfall, Decay and Hydration trading with Godsby, Bazzi, and Rhea. Both teams finished the map with only a little bit of time back remaining, but whilst the Spark managed to full hold on their defence, a brilliant opening pick from Bazzi yet again unlocked their second attack to help Hangzhou cap the point and win the map, levelling the series now at 3-3. It came down to Gibraltar to decide the series, that although incredibly tense and exciting, was admittedly becoming a little scrappy. Hydration again stepped up, now back on the Doomfist, as he led the charge with his performance helping the Gladiators to complete the map, with help particularly from Void, whose return on the Sigma saw him play very well, with very impactful accretion usage. Whilst they had battled their way back into the series, it always felt like the Spark were just a little weaker than the Gladiators, and this was emphasised as their own attack never really got going, as they kept stuttering in the face of Hydration's Doomfist. They did manage to reach the second section, but in the end it all proved too much, as the Gladiators wiped them out in the final teamfight to win the map and take the series 4-3, saving them from what could have been a very bad choke, but the promise and quality was there to show that they perhaps could cause Vancouver some trouble. Whilst at the Spark it was a question of staying more consistent and providing assistance to Bazzi, who at times felt like one of the few threatening players for Hangzhou. Thursday had been a fantastic spectacle, if not going on a little later than viewers may have wanted, especially those from Europe. And now all the hype and attention was geared towards day 2 of the playoffs on Friday, with 2 more matches that promised to be just as exciting and entertaining. However, as the 7-seed London Spitfire went up against the 2-seed New York Excelsior, it appeared as if London didn't get the memo, as for the majority of the series they were bluntly outclassed and dominated by a hungry New York squad, which was out to prove the many doubters that they meant business in the playoffs. Map 1 on Busan showed why people thought London would continue to look strong, after they edged out the Dragons in their play-in series, with Gesture looking very comfortable on the Sigma again, whilst Badowson continued to have an impact playing the Moira. But even with switching guard in for Birdring on the Doomfist, they were blown out the water by Sabiolbi and Flower, who dominated the opening exchanges, giving the Excelsior the upper hand early, with the rest of the squad playing really well as well, including surprisingly Meko on Sigma, as New York picked up the opening 2 rounds to go 1-0 up in the match. Numbani came next, and again London put together some nice things that allowed them to finish the map just before overtime, but then they came up against Sebastian Farrer attack from the Excelsior, which proved to be too strong, with the Spitfire failing to find an answer for it. This gave New York a very healthy 3-minute time bank advantage, and after easily full holding, they did not wait long to win the teamfight they needed to win the map on their second attack, and go quickly 2-0 up in the lead. Bastion again would be the difference maker on Anubis, as both on defence as well as offence, when combined with either a Symmetra or May, London just couldn't seem to find a way to break through it, without wasting a lot of time trying to build up ultimates. This not only killed their time back as they only finished with seconds to spare, but saw New York build up a massive advantage as they blitzed through on their own attack. On their second attempt, some nice picks from Guard on Hanzo saw them capture point A, but the damage was already done, so with well over 5 minutes to capture an objective and a half, it was Sabiolbi on Bastion again who opened up the floodgates once more, with Jonek having a field day on the Moira, as well as Libero who supported him brilliantly in the other DPS slot, resulting in them quickly finishing the map and increasing their lead to 3-0. Gibraltar at least saw a response from London, who fought fire with fire, and thanks to their own Bastion setup on the payload, managed to win at least one map back to avoid the clean sweep. But this just delayed the inevitable, as a McCree Doomfist setup dominated for the Excelsior on the Spitfire's bogey map Ilios to lock up the series 4-1, the most one-sided series of the playoffs so far. It not only stamped the intent of New York, but also asked many questions of London, who now looked on the edge of exiting out from the losers bracket. The 3-seed San Francisco Shock played the 6-seed Atlanta Reign in the final remaining winners quarter-final matchup of the first round, with many people hoping and expecting the series to be the most closely contested of all of them so far. The most fascinating talking point, at least initially, was Atlanta's decision to bring in Gator from their academy roster to play the Sigma, as the Reign ran 2 main tanks with Pokebo keeping his spot on the Orisa, making Gator's duel against Choi Hyobin certainly one to watch. This was not the only key battle, as the other came at the DPS position as Sinatra and Striker went up against Erster and Babybay, and it was the boys from the Shock who took first blood and gained the first objective capture in the series. A key development in the opening round, which saw momentum swing, was the great combination of Coalescence and Death Blossom from Babybay and Dogman, which worked superbly and saw Atlanta take control of some of the later teamfights, combined with some Erster picks on Doomfist to help them take the first round. San Francisco responded well to take the second round, with Striker getting a lot of value out of his own Death Blossom, but Gator was starting to get more and more involved on the Sigma, with very high impact alongside Erster, who was starting to pick up more regular picks on Doomfist, which in the end proved to be the difference, giving the Reign a strong third round win and opening map victory in the series. Unlike Busan, however, Map 2 on Numbani saw the Shock come back with a vengeance. It helped brilliantly with the Bastion defense that had been catching others out over the past couple of days, and thanks to a great ultimate usage from Striker on Reaper, Draw on Sigma, as well as Moth on Lucio, they marched through the rest of the map with only the occasional resistance, to finish with an impressive time bank of over 2 minutes. They then emphasised this newfound confidence further with an extraordinary defense which was run perfectly, punishing small mistakes from Atlanta which saw them be full held as the series became tied at 1-1. This momentum continued for San Francisco onto Horizon, where they were almost full held with a Bastion and Doomfist pairing, which saw Sinatra in particular having some huge meteor strikes, and despite the Reign just managing to cap point A, with a clever switch from Erster onto Genji, they were then stuffed again on point B. You'd be forgiven for thinking this would be the moment the Shock would start to turn the screw, but instead, they themselves got a taste of their own medicine, as they continually struggled to break through Atlanta's own Bastion defense, helped by MA, with Gator coming up huge on Sigma at the same time as well. The timer hit overtime, and for a second, it just looked like Sinatra was about to clutch out the point after a 3k, though very nearly was almost a 4k, but the numbers remained just in the hands of the Reign, to hold on for a mind-blowing defense that swung the series back in their favour once more, now at 2-1. In the words of Uber on the commentary, this series had turned into a real slugfest, which would also perhaps emphasising this best, with a lot of sloppy fights, with Doomfist and Sigma picks making the difference. The Shock only managed to reach the final section, but this would prove to be enough, as a brilliant Striker Death Blossom ended the setup from Atlanta during their reply, but not only saw them waste ultimates, but also commit for far too long, which didn't allow them to reach the payload once the spawns came back, tying the series once more, now at 2 apiece. But Control Map 5 on Lijiang cemented, at least in my mind, the key difference right now between the two sides, with the main men Erster and Sinatra generally trading their impact evenly back and forth. And this was the impact of Gator and Dogman in comparison to Choi Hyobin and Violet. When it came down to the key fights, it just felt like this pair were able to gain a lot more value out of their ultimates, which proved to be crucial in giving the Reign the opening round, as well as supporting Babybay in the second one, who when kept alive on an extremely charged Symmetra, quite simply and literally melted down his opposition on the side of a Shock to win this team the map, and yet again take advantage of the series, now at 3-2. The DPS players for both sides again started to take over, with fists flying and Reapers spinning. As first it was Sinatra and Striker who forced through a very quick completion with over 3 minutes remaining, before Erster and Babybay went slightly better to finish around 15 seconds quicker. This was edge of your seat action, with both sides working so hard to come out on top. Again the Shock would not be deterred and made it all the way to the third section of the map before finally being taken down, and in reply the Reign struggled a little to get going. San Francisco looked to win it halfway through the second section, but a butchered flank by Striker, with Choi Hyobin wasting his graphitic flux, meant that they would once again go right down to the wire. Then came a huge breakthrough, as aggression from Sinatra forced out Atlanta's sound barrier, which eventually saw Babybay picked from going in too deep. Striker made amends with a huge Death Blossom to win the map and take us to a map 7 that we were all desperate to see. Havana would be this map, and as they attacked first, it did appear that San Francisco were beginning to falter a bit, their attack only just making it through the first 2 sections, before finally being halted just before the end in overtime, as Babybay picked up all the important kills. In response, the Shock were caught out by a Bastion strat from the Reign, which just seemed to snowball to great effect, with little being mustered to stop it, as Atlanta entered the home stretch with just under 5 minutes in the time bank. Incredibly, and almost historically, San Francisco held on, just managing to repel everything that the Reign threw at them. 4 minutes went by in a flash, and we were left with one final teamfight that would decide the series. Chaos ensued as players died and ultimates came online. In a key moment, Erster dove into the backline of the Shock, drawing the attention of 4 of their remaining 5 members, whilst Choi tried to use his graphitic flux on the rest of Atlanta. But with him just too high in the air, and the rest of the team just distracted for no longer than a second, no one on the side of San Francisco was contesting the point, allowing the Reign to squeak through the distance they needed to win the map on a C9 and take this gobsmacking series 4-3 in the most phenomenal fashion, which left everyone almost speechless. Yes, Atlanta had won, but there was no denying that both of these teams looked incredible, and it could have very easily flipped the other way around. But a rematch showdown now between these two just seems destined in the future, with San Francisco sure to battle back from the losers bracket. It has to be said that unlike the first couple of days of playoff action in the winners' quarterfinals, which have been very fun and brilliant to watch, Saturday saw our first ugly and disappointing displays as we sent home our first two teams from the first round of the losers bracket. It all started with the Seoul Dynasty facing the Hangzhou Spark. What was interesting about this series was that for the most part they mirrored each other's compositions throughout, and generally quite evenly matched, especially early on with Fitz, Fletter and Marvel spearheading Seoul's progress, whilst it was Bazzi, Godsby and Rhea for the Spark. The key difference which made the difference in most of the maps, however, was that when it came down to the crucial final teamfights, it was Hangzhou who came up with the clutch kills and showed a little more want and desire, with Bazzi on Doomfist and Rhea's Sigma particularly seeing them win map 3 on Anubis, which seemed to be the turning point in the series, as it gave them a 2-1 lead after the Dynasty had levelled after an impressive showing on Iconboard. Fletcher in particular stepped up in this series and utilised his Death Blossom and Reaper combined with the Coalescence from Jaehong to help Seoul push forward. Once overtime hit, Hangzhou stepped up a level and won the fights when it mattered most, winning Dorado after stopping the Dynasty from completing the map as they had. With their opponents at match point once again, Seoul capitulated, losing two dominant 100-0 rounds, giving the Spark the comfortable 4-1 victory in the end, even if it highlighted that Seoul was just mentally tired after what had been a long and stressful season and had taken a lot out of the players, emphasised by the emotional post-match interviews with Toby and Jaehong as the season came to an end. The next series between London and San Francisco Shock unfortunately told a quite similar story. On map 1 in particular, London came so close to winning the map, taking round 1 and capping the point for significant periods in the other two rounds as well, but the Shock clutched it out to take a 1-0 lead. Even on map 2 on Numbani, their Bastion defence almost full held point A, and on attack almost saw them finish as well. But once San Francisco got rolling, they didn't look back, with Sinatra the key man alongside Choi Hyobin, and seeing his side finish the map on attack, before holding London just before the finish in defence, despite the best efforts of Profit, who picked up a nice highlight barrage on Farah. With the series now at 2-0, it felt like the Spitfire had a mountain too steep to climb, and gradually, despite some nice plays and attempts, it was clear that the series was slipping further and further out of their hands. On the horizon, it was only some last-second Profit kills on Tracer, it was on finish point A, as the Shock Bastion held them firmly and full held point B. This was followed up by a very fast reply from San Francisco, who caught out London with a Symmetra to blitz point A, which snowballed their advantage into a point B cap as well, to go 3-0 up. Bastion went against Bastion on Gibraltar, but despite the minor success of stopping the Shock from finishing the map, as well as Profit again trying his best to gain some momentum, the Spitfire's own attack could never get anything meaningfully going, to try and break through the Bastion defence, and with an ultimate advantage in their favour, San Francisco dominated the final teamfight with ease, to take the series 4-0, to put a disappointing end to the season of our reigning champions, who in spite of some early promise, could never seem to get the whole team performance going together, to announce themselves as true contenders in the playoffs. Sunday managed to rebound a bit, with a little more competition in the two winners' semi-finals that were being played, but again it failed to live up to the brilliant showcases that have been put on offer over the first couple of days, and after seeing how long I've already talked, I'll be a little quicker with these ones. The Vancouver Titans played the LA Gladiators after the quarterfinal wins. Interestingly, this followed quite a similar script to when Vancouver faced off against Seoul, with both the Titans and Gladiators seemingly quite evenly matched. In the key moments, it was Vancouver, and particularly Haxwell, Seom and Seo on the Doomfist or Reaper, that found the kills they needed to win the teamfights. After map 1 went against them, LA responded brilliantly on King's Row with a very gutsy defence, which once again saw Hydration play really well, highlighting his strength, quality and impact in this sort of meta when playing on Doomfist, as he helped his side to level the series. Anubis saw the Titans kick themselves back into gear with a resounding victory thanks to a great defensive effort that had taken LA to overtime. The Gladiators for a time also looked to get stuck at the beginning of Rialto after setting up Shawfar on Bastion and having Hydration rain damage from the skies on Farah. They finally started to gain some momentum themselves, which saw them complete the map in good time. Whilst the Titans showed their own quality again to complete the map, their next attack got completely stuffed by the same Bastion Farah comp, which impressively dominated and held Vancouver to just 26 metres, which consequently allowed them to tie up the series again after Hydration came up clutch with a huge flank on Farah, managed to get a pick onto the Titans' Baptiste. Again though, with the scores at 2-2, Vancouver started to pile the pressure on, winning map 5 on Lijiang after just edging out important final teamfights before demolishing the Gladiators on Iconboard as they could only make it to the bridge, allowing Haxwell and the boys to roll on through and lock up the winners' final with ease, winning the map and thus the series 4-2, with a key player throughout being Twilight, whose healing and impact through Coalescence is an important thing to note, especially in being able to allow both Haxwell and Seom and Soo to have the impact they did on the front lines. Finally, to conclude the week, the Atlanta Reign faced the New York Excelsior. Once again, this was an insane series that just pushed and pulled between the two sides. A Death Blossom coalescence again worked really well for Atlanta and was the key to them taking round 1 at Busan, but late teamfights at high percentage cost them, as they were just edged out on both occasions towards the sides of New York, thanks to kills from Sabiobi on Reaper and Libero on Doomfist as they took round 1. Gator once again showed how good of a Sigma player he was on King's Row, as it was him as well as Erster on Doomfist who stamped their authority in their respective head-to-heads to see them reach the end of the map, before making it to halfway through the second section after New York succeeded in finishing the map themselves in their reply. However, as overtime hit, it was a combination of Libero on Doomfist being backed up by Jonet's coalescence on their second attack that finally broke through the defence of Atlanta, which started to capitulate, and they soon found themselves down 2-0 in the series. Bastion, Symmetra and Ashe took to centre stage as the teams took to Hanamura, with Atlanta brilliantly finishing with well over 4 minutes left after a snowball attack. In reply, there were moments where the Excelsior's own Bastion strat looked to be gaining momentum, but BabyB's Ashe on point B helped massively in holding for the rain to win the map and lessen the lead to 2-1. Round 2 at first seemed to be going Atlanta's favour, as New York struggled to get through their entire push, and were held before reaching the second checkpoint. But despite Gator again unlocking the first checkpoint after an impactful Griffidic flux early on, the rain's attack faltered with the side struggling to deal with a very well protected Bastion from Zabielby, which fantastically held for around 4 minutes at the end of the second section, to steal what could have been a serious levelling map and give the Excelsior a 3-1 lead. Atlanta were not done though, and retaliated very well, winning teamfights at 99 to 99% to win back-to-back rounds on Li Jiang to at least give them a sliver of hope in the series. Ultimately, however, what BabyBay said in his post-match interview I think was certainly right, which was that New York just had a better understanding of the meta than the moment right now. Sabiobi and Libero were superb when running the Bastion setups, with Meko himself having a pretty good series on Sigma, given he was facing the on-fire Gator. New York made the statement on their Numbani offense, finishing the map with around 3 minutes left, and once the rain got through the first 2 sections, things began to quickly unravel, with Libero adding an exclamation point with a crucial kill onto Dogman that saw Atlanta be wiped, and earned in the Player of the Match award, with the Excelsior picking up the series win 4-2, and giving their reign a match to certainly reflect upon, despite their valiant and competitive effort. After this intense week of playoff action, our 7th and 8th seeds in the London Spitfire and Seoul Dynasty have been sent home. Now only 6 teams remain to fight it out to become our Season 2 Overwatch League champion, with Atlanta facing Hangzhou, as well as San Francisco going up against Gladiators on Thursday, for our winners final between New York and Vancouver on Friday. I'll be previewing these matchups in a couple of days' time. But with that, we reach the end of my Week 1 playoffs review. I'd like to thank you for watching. I'm hoping my Overwatch World Cup power rankings will be dropped tomorrow, so if you enjoyed and don't want to miss out, please like, subscribe, and follow me on Twitter. There's continuing competitive Overwatch coverage and content. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.